Join me, Glenn Schultz, and co-host Berkeley Badger on Senior Voice America, Wednesday mornings, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. It will be an informative 2 hours that are vital to your health, wealth, and well-being. Also get ready for an opportunity to win great prizes and join in community events. That's Senior Voice America with Berkeley and Glenn, Wednesdays, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. on SVAI Radio on AM 1340 and FM 106.1. WTAN.
Hi, this is Paul Malloy, host of Freedom Works, The Paul Malloy Show. I hope you'll join us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 10 to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, here on the Tan Talk Radio Network, where we strive to bring you the libertarian perspective on political events of the day. There's no show quite like Freedom Works, with in-depth interviews, our ultimate top 10 list, and so much more. So join us for Freedom Works, The Paul Malloy Show, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 10 to 11 a.m. here on the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Tampa Bay's Tan Talk, entertaining and informative radio for the Sunshine State.
You may be owed some money. After 911 and 411, call 541. That's 727-541-1741. Call Gulfstream Motorsports for a diminished value report. Due to my 28 years experience in the auto salvage business, I'm very good with wrecks. So if your car's been involved in a wreck, call me for a diminished value report. Call 727-541-1741. You may be owed some money for the lost value of your repaired vehicle. And visit us at GulfstreamMotorsports.com.
Looking for car shows? Then look no further than FLACarshows.com. On your computer or on your mobile device, FLACarshows.com is a comprehensive list of automotive events, plus videos and news articles. Whether you're looking for car shows, cruise-ins, meetups, automotive festivals, cars and coffees, or anything else relating to an internal combustion engine, then this is a site for you. Check it out online or on your phone at FLACarshows.com.
A timeless race. A unique event. A dream which runs through the streets of the Bel Paese. A race which has been the dream of the whole of Italy. Enzo Ferrari called it the most beautiful race in the world. It was, and it still is today. It is a race that has never had any equals.
La Coppa delle Mille Miglia, la più appassionante corsa automobilistica sulle strade di mezza Italia, ha avuto un successo senza precedenti.
It was a long-distance speed race. The most important teams competed with the fastest and most modern cars.
241 macchine, dai bolidi di grande cilindrata alle minuscole topolino di serie, hanno preso il via per la vertiginosa competizione, la Coppa delle Mille Miglia.
The best drivers achieved the most surprising speeds in their bid to win the Mille Miglia Cup. Champions such as Tazio Nuvolari, Sterling Moss, Alberto Ascari, and the Count Giannino Marzotto have all written their names in the story of this Brescian race. Today, the Mille Miglia is more alive than ever. It brings to the streets of Italy its prestige, its excellence, and its uniqueness.
Inizio della 10ª corsa delle Mille Miglia a Brescia. Le macchine concorrenti si allineano per la verifica alla funzionatura.
In Brescia, today as in the past, the cars are finely tuned to be at peak performance to face the long challenge.
I numeri corrispondono all'ora di partenza. 7.30 è l'Alfa di Fangio, cedutagli da Bornigia, ordine di scuderia. Fagioli si cimenterà con un Oscar 1100. Enzo Ferrari, che al volante delle sue macchine schiera un Serafini.
The Mille Miglia, and they're off.
Ultime battute, Piacenza. La Ferrari 4100 di Gigi lavora a piena resa, cessando la pioggia.
A Parma si torna all'alta velocità, un brivido, ma la 1100 di Borghi si è subito rimessa in linea.
The Mille Miglia today is the past which meets the future in a rite, in a celebration that will remain immortal forever. The Mille Miglia is the most beautiful race in the world.
Hi, this is Bob Marshall. You're listening to Nostalgic Radio and Cars.
Welcome. You're tuned in to Nostalgic Radio and Cars, and I'm your show host, Robert. Run your computers and Google TANTalk1340.com, and you can see us live here in the studios in downtown Clearwater. Don't forget to check out our website, GulfstreamMotorsports.com, where you can find out all about us. And if you've missed any of our past shows, don't forget to check out NostalgicRadioandCars.com. I think I said that right. Good evening, Ed. How are you?
Doing all right.
You know, every once in a while, my mind goes blank. That happens. I think as we get older, that happens. Okay. Anyway. So, yeah, we got a radio show here, and we talk about cars, and we do music and all that other good stuff. So, anyway, so what we do this weekend? Well, you know, every weekend I try to do something, you know. I really should be working on my cars. You know, as I'm getting older, my cars are getting older, and they're not going anywhere. They're just kind of like sitting around doing not much of anything. And I kind of bump into them, I trip over them, and I stare at them, and I go, you know, I used to drive that years ago. That was a lot of fun. So where I'm going with this, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, sports fans, car guys, car gals, don't let them sit around like that. Get in there and drive them. I know that this was my 50th year at high school reunion, and I still have my Ranchero that I used to drive back in high school 50 some odd years ago, actually more than that, 1973. And I was all gung-ho to get that thing going and everything like that, and I did, and I rebuilt the carburetor, and I changed the oil and plugs, and, you know, did a tune-up and got it running real good, and then I discovered that my brakes weren't worth the crap. That's because it's been sitting for a long time. So I got it on the back of my rollback, took it to the 50th reunion. We took it up front. We got pictures with some of my classmates and everything like that, and that was pretty cool. Then I trailered it or towed it back home. It's on the back of my rollback, put it in the garage, and there it sits. And that's been 7-8 months now. You don't want to do that. You want to get there and drive those cars. This past weekend, I went to two things. I went to a car show, the Gasparilla Cars in the Park thing, which was over in someplace in Tampa near Carrollwood. And that was a lot of fun. A lot of really cool cars. Met some interesting people there. There was a good selection of cars. And, of course, our friend Brando and Joanne Pistorius, who used to do Brando restores cars. And they used to do the Gasparilla Concourse. But now they're doing this event, and it's actually a lot of fun because it's real casual. And there was a lot of cars there, and everything, you know, BMWs, Porsches, Rolls Royces, Jaguars, Mustangs, Camaros, Firebirds, Mopars. Chris Dunn, my good buddy from Lincoln Land, had Lincolns over there. And, of course, the Lincoln Club, too, which has some pretty cool pieces over there. The Cadillacs, just a Citroen. A Citroen. Guy had a Citroen over there. French guy. His name was Francois. So Francois had his Citroën DS20. I'll think here in a minute how you say 20 in French. You know, it's un, deux, trois, and I'll think of it, 20, something like that. Anyway, neither here nor there. So I know Alan's probably going, geez, Robert, come on, get on with it. Anyway, it was an interesting car because it was a custom one-off. Now, back in the day, back in the 60s, Citroën, they made DS19s, DS20s, and then the really cool DS21s. And the interesting thing about Citroën is they had air suspension. Of course, most people probably can identify with a Citroën. If you're familiar with the deux chevaux, which is 2CV, deux chevaux, C chevaux, V. And from the movie, let's see, The Pink Panther with Peter Sellers, and he drove the Green Hornet, which was a goofy play on. Now, I'm not sure whether that was actually, it probably was before the TV show, The Green Hornet, which they used an Imperial. But he called it the Green Hornet. And I know I'm having some fun with this. We can do this. This is a radio show. And so deux chevaux, which was a 2CV, which was just a little four-cylinder car. I remember we were up in Canada, Niagara Falls, and on the Canadian side, because it's much nicer to stay. If you're going to stay up at Niagara Falls, you want to stay on the Canadian side. It's prettier than the U.S. side. And because it's too close to Buffalo. Anyway, we just happened to be there when they were doing the Around the World drive. So I had all these really cool cars. There was Jaguars, Porsches, Ferraris, Aston Martins, Mustangs, all kinds of cars. Well, there was a guy there that had a deux chevaux. And they actually needed some parts. And the way that drive worked is you had to have your support team. So
if you could afford to, you would have a support vehicle behind you with all the parts. Well, they needed something that was kind of odd, peculiar, so they actually had to have it flown in from France. So the car was disassembled, sitting in this in the parking garage there, all scattered, and it was interesting. And he wasn't the only one. There were a lot of cars that were being worked on, and so they had to get these special parts. But the Deux Chevaux, the French cars are kind of popular as Citroens, and they're most noted for with the air suspension. You can actually take one wheel off. They used to do a commercial on it. Throw the spare tire in the occupant compartment, in the cabin, if you will, and the car would drive around on three wheels. And I know that to be true because when I was in Spain back sometime in the 70s, there was a Citroën that broke down along the side of the road, and he was changing the tire. And about an hour or two later, once we got into Alhambra, Spain, just outside of Barcelona, that car came rolling in, and he was on three wheels. And I was stunned. I mean, I don't know, maybe 12 years old back then or something like that. I didn't know a lot about Citroëns and Citroens, but I'll just play on Citroën. And that was that. And so anyway, so that's really cool cars over there at the Gasparilla. And then Sunday I went to the Sumter swap meet. So I dragged a whole bunch of junk over there, and it's kind of more or less a hangout. Actually, the cool thing about there, you don't really sell a lot of stuff sometimes because everybody's got the same stuff. I got the same intakes, the same carburetors, same thing that everybody else bought and sold back, or collected or hung on to for the last 50 years. Yeah, it's been 50 years. Hard to believe. And so, but you hang out with your buds. I always bring an extra chair so my friends stop by, and, we chit chat, and there's always people that have interesting stories, and you meet people, and then sometimes you go, hey, look, what are you looking for? If I don't have it, let me know. I probably have it someplace else, and I take their name and number, and then I call them later. Sometimes I sell stuff, sometimes I don't, but then I always take a wanted thing there. So I have wanted, Shelby, Boss, Porsche, Ferrari, whatever. Not Ferrari, obviously, but Porsche, Healey's, stuff that I'm into, and electric guitars. I'm into electric guitars. So if you have an old Fender or Gibson laying around, solid bodies, I'm into solid bodies, not hollows. And I'm not really a big, what do they call that? Acoustic guitar guy, dreadnoughts. Anyway, we got a special guest for you this evening. So definitely, if you want to find out where all the car shows are, things that are coming up here, we're in the holidays, and all the car shows are coming up. Lots of them, a lot of Christmas car shows. So go to flacarshows.com. Palm Beach Concourse is this weekend in South Florida. I should attend that. Meekums is coming up in the first or second week in, January. And then, of course, the Scottsdale Collector Car Week. And if you've never been anywhere, now granted, Meekums sells 4,000 cars. A lot of cars, and it's a lot of fun, and there's some really cool stuff there, and it's exciting just to see the cars. And like the guys used to say all the time, John, when he was around, he would come on our show, it's a giant car show. I mean, particularly for me, it's interesting because I do appraisals and valuations, and I like to see the cars, compare them, and there's always 10 or 20 of each there. 4,000 cars. Think about that. However, that being said, Scottsdale, Barrett-Jackson, Scottsdale, and to requote Craig Jackson, the greatest show on earth. Nothing. It is the one show, the one auction that you have to go to because there is nothing else like it. Now, they don't have 4,000 cars. They probably have anywhere between 1,500, 1,700 cars. But it is a show. It truly is a show. They got a lot of cars outside the tent, but the cars that are in the main area there, the tent, and then as they roll across the block, I mean, there's nothing like it. And I've been going since 85, 86. I've been going to, and I've watched this thing just grow and evolve and expand, and it is certainly a show. Plus, there's not only the Scottsdale, the Barrett-Jackson songs. You got Goodings there, RM's there, Bonham's there, and there's a lot of peripheral car shows and cars and coffees, and the big car show at the Pavilion, which is really cool, and just a lot of. And then, of course, I think the week before they have, or leading up to it, the Arizona Concourse, a lot of entertainment. Downtown Scottsdale is pretty cool. Places to eat, places to hang out. It's spectacular. You definitely have to put it on your bucket list. That being said, Ed's going to fire up the stereo. We're going to play Little Doors. Why? Because Jim Morrison's birthday was yesterday. So this is a Jim Morrison tribute song. It's actually not a tribute. It's actually him singing. It's a real song. And it's called Peace Frog. It's one of my favorites. So you tune in to Nostalgic Radio and Cars. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back with our special guest.
Blood in the streets, it's up to my ankles. Blood in the streets, it's up to my knee. Blood in the street, the town of Chicago. Right on the rise and following me. Of sadness, right in the streets, it's up to my thigh. Yeah, the river runs right down the legs of the city. No women are crying and rivers are weeping. Blood in the streets in the town of New Haven. Blood stains the roofs and the palm trees of Venice. Blood in my love in the terrible summer. Bloody red sun of fantastic LA. Blast me the brain and chop off the finger. That'll be born in the birth of a nation. That is the rose of mysterious youth.
And Redmond, retired racing driver, 9 times racing champion, still racing at 76. And you're listening to Nostalgic Radio and Cars.
Okay, we're back to tune in to Nostalgic Radio and Cars. And by the way, that voiceover was from Brian Redmond. Well, it's time to introduce our special guest for the show. Since we're on a racing theme, I played a little clip from a little racing going on at the Mille Miglia. Well, I guess the G's silent. But anyway, the gentleman that's coming on the show is a racer, an author, a car collector, and the all-around raconteur. I'm delighted to welcome to the show this evening, Toli Artunov. Toli, are you there? Yep, he hung up. Yep, we got disconnected. Let's try it again. Well, you know, this is what they call a radio technical difficulty, but it's not on our side. I want to give a big shout out to my friends over there in, let me find my little phone here. Forte's Classic Car Garage. Give them a shout, 727-544-6440. They, I've known Dom, since the 70s. He had a 69 Shelby and countless other Shelbys. But anyway, so every once in a while, you know, they do a lot. They are the go-to guy. If you have Fords, really cool classic Ford, other vintage cars as well. They're the guys you want to go to. They're located in Pinellas Park off 66th Street, and they will be able to fix your car. And they do an excellent job on it. It's classic. But anyway, so they call me every once in a while when they need an appraisal done, and I'm doing a 67 Shelby GT500 factory 4-speed car. And so it's a real interesting piece. And it's early serial number car. Well, it's within the first 900 or 850. Speaking of which, 6 we're talking about 67 Shelbys. The Jim Morrison at one point owned a 67 Shelby, also known as AKA the Blue Lady. It was a factory Night Mist blue car, factory 4-speed. And we have our guest back on, and I'll tell you that story another time. Anyway, hey, so delighted to welcome to the show tonight. Toli Artunov. God, I can't remember. Toli, how do you pronounce your last name?
Artunov.
Artunov. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, so how you doing there, buddy?
Pretty good. Pretty good. I'm sorry we had a little problem here. This is a wireless phone, and I also have a regular phone, which I wanted to use because it's hooked up. Except whenever I finally learned if I pick up the regular phone, it hangs up on the wireless.
Wow.
I have no idea why.
Interesting.
Anyway, here I am.
So now you're all comfortable. You're sitting in your recliner, and you're all ready to tell us really cool stories about your racing life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Oh, you got a little doggy in the background. What kind of doggy you got there?
A rescue Chihuahua.
A rescue Chihuahua.
Mm-hmm.
Can he say "Yo quiero Taco Bell"?
No, she's just kind of a weird dog.
Just kind of a weird dog.
Very old now.
Okay, well, you know what? Dogs are Ban's best friends, and sometimes the way humans are these days, I think I'd rather be around animals myself.
Well, if I could pick certain humans, I'd be around them.
Okay, speaking of humans, you've been around for quite a while, and you're a young spring chicken here. But you started racing back in the late 50s. But what was the thing? What bug bit you? Where and when you said, you know what, I got to do this racing thing?
Well, racing back in those days, it was show up with your street car, and run a race. I mean, even at the SCCA runoffs at Riverside, almost one third of the production car classes, the race cars had license plates. Now think about that. And I'm talking about, starting in many years before that.
Well, you're right. You're absolutely right. So,
but I mean, I always liked cars. I can remember the thing that really set me off is my nurse and I. Hang on, I got to put some food down on the floor for the dog. Otherwise, she's going to
that's
make
fine.
noise night long.
All night long. Okay. Well.
Okay. Well, there it is. Sorry, okay. I don't know how long it'll hold her.
Well, don't let her eat. As long as she doesn't start chewing on your leg, you're good.
Yeah, I was, I don't know, maybe 4 years old. My nurse and I, family was staying at the Beverly Hills Hotel. They were looking for a nice house to buy out there. And boy, I could go on about that house. Wow. Anyway, and if you're familiar with Beverly Hills at all, as you go toward Beverly Hills from the Beverly Hills Hotel, there are these big, wide 3 crossroad intersections that are, I don't know what, 200 feet across, 150. And we're walking along back to the hotel, and here comes a red car with the windshield down, and the guy was wearing a cap. Now, I don't know whether he had a briar clenched between his teeth, but anyway, they had those gentle but moderately deep drainage dips where you would think you'd walk across. Anyway, and this thing came barreling along and through the intersection, and I thought, that's really wonderful. And that was what did it.
Well, that's what did it. So that was in what year would you say that was?
Oh, maybe 1940.
Oh, okay. Well, it obviously wasn't an Austin Healey. It was probably some other little interesting car with a fold-down.
I think it was an SS-100 Jag.
Oh, that's even cooler yet. Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then you were telling me a story yesterday a little bit that you and a buddy of yours you were tooling in Italy, just kind of driving around, and you stumbled on the Mille Miglia.
Yeah, that was the family.
The family. Okay.
My brother-in-law, and sister, and I, and my niece and nephew.
And then, so where did you happen to be on that? Because that's 1,000 kilometers. So whereabouts were you in relationship to the Mille Miglia?
Well, we're fairly vaguely close to the end.
Oh, okay.
We're up north because, as I said, I have movies of Portago going by 8 miles from where he was killed.
Oh.
And, we got up there and that, in 1957, I was told that was the first year they actually closed the roads for the Mille Miglia. Before that, it was a race with normal traffic, like the Liège-Rome-Liège thing was, just think about how wonderful those days must have been. Anyway, we pulled up to a road, wanted to go across, and the carabinieri said, no crossing. We said, why? It's the Mille Miglia. And I heard about that because I was a drag racer, and I got out of the car, and, somebody went by. My phrase is, it's 4,000 times as long as a drag race. You can take a friend with you, and the food's better.
Very true. Very true. Now back up a little bit. Talk about this drag racing. When did you get into this drag racing thing? And what did you drag race?
Well, my first car was a 51 Chevy Powerglide and 105 throbbing horsepower. Of course, that wasn't worth racing at all. Then my second car, I really wanted a 120 Jag Coupe for my 16th birthday. And my folks said if we still had the house in California, dear, we'd buy it for you. But people in Bartlesville, Oklahoma, would probably talk. So how about a Lincoln convertible? So I got a 53 Lincoln convertible, and I put a Chet Herbert roller tappet cam, Mallory mag spark ignition, and octagain alcohol injection and headers, and a McCullough supercharger on it. And it was fairly quick.
Well, I can imagine. Yeah. Now let's see, 53. Would that be the first year for the overhead valve motor in a Lincoln and a Ford?
No, they were in 52. The 53, 2, 3, and 4, were the years that Lincoln won the sedan class at the Mexican road race.
Yeah, the Carrera Panamera.
Yeah,
Panamera
right.
car, whatever they call it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Did you ever do that race?
No, never did that one.
Well, I was reading somewhere you did the Pikes Peak.
Well, that was the first vintage deal they had at Pikes Peak in '86.
Oh, okay.
And I ran it in the Cunningham. And the Cunningham was moderately rich at the bottom. You can imagine what it was at the top. In fact, I messed with the timing, so there was no way I could set the thing up to run half decent. And the tires were also, I believe they were still the tires that were on the chassis when it was built in 51 or 52. No, I'm not kidding.
Seriously?
I'm not kidding. They were Firestone Police Pursuit tires, hard as rocks. And anyway, it was great fun slithering up to the top on the dirt and then having, for all the competitors, coffee and hot dogs were free.
Oh, okay. Well, that's definitely an incentive.
Oh, yeah.
So let me ask you a question. Okay, so you're in this Cunningham. Which model is it you're driving?
It was a C3, bodied eventually, finished in very early 80s by somebody partially in Indianapolis and partially in California. I mean, they just, took a chassis that never had been finished. I thought it was the last chassis forever, but apparently there were one or two more at number 37, I think. And they put a body on it through the years, and there it was.
So that was that goofy little white and blue thing that I stumbled across when I was over there in Oklahoma many, many years ago. That was at your nephew's place, sitting underneath the bleachers?
Yeah, that's right. That's it.
So what motor did you have in it? Because when I saw it, there was no motor.
It was a regular Chrysler, with whatever Cunningham put in them with that Cunningham manifold with the 4 tractor carburetors on it.
Oh, so
yeah, they were. They came. He said they came in a big box wrapped in newspaper. They'd open the box and pour them out on the floor.
Uh-huh. Okay, that's interesting. So let's see. I'm just making my little notes here. So let's talk a little bit about Howlett Raceway. That's something that one day you just took the initiative to jump on a bulldozer and you decided to carve a roadway, a road course in the side of a hill, right?
Well, not the side of a hill. There's some gentle rolling hills there. And I looked at some other parcels of land. And one I really liked was halfway between, well, there were two. I can get way off in the weeds here. Halfway between Tulsa and my home in Bartlesville, there was stuff available right next to the highway. Well, this is right next to the turnpike, and it's on a state highway, so it's not like it's difficult to get to. But the deal was, I went and looked at that. A, it was flat as a board, and B, standing in the middle, I could see 5 houses. And I knew that'd be, oh my gosh, they're going to be out here making noise. And so I went and found this other place. The place I really would have liked, I'm sure you've never heard of Mont Duclos in France, a castle with a racetrack.
No.
A guy built. He died about 15 years ago. He was a semi-billionaire. And he had a Ferrari collection and all that kind of stuff. And anyway, there was a place I went and looked at Enid, and it was a beautiful house. And it had been given to some nuns, and they were selling it. And it was a sort of house with an elevator and a third-floor ballroom, coppered ceiling. And because the nuns had it, it had 15 rooms at the end of the ground floor and little bedrooms and a commercial kitchen. And I thought, boy, oh boy, would that ever be neat, because you'd sell those out. And the place was made such a wonderful clubhouse. The problem was it didn't have enough acreage on it. And the other thing was right next door was a trailer park. And I talked to the powers that be, and they were willing to kick all the people out of the trailer park so I could have the land. But I didn't want to do that. But I was too lazy to go look for another place that I could have moved the trailer park for them. So I just dropped that whole idea, but that would have been incredible because I had this great big half-timbered 3-story clubhouse, with a racetrack going by and swimming pool, the whole deal.
Oh, wow.
But that didn't happen. So that was just whatever.
So then you wound up where you were at. So you put together this little 1.8 mile track that had like little twitchy little turns. And by the way, I will tell you that I actually rode on that track, and I was pretty impressed because we were there with it was a Shelby Club, the Mid-America Shelby Club. This was, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8, 10 years ago, whatever it was. Anyway, and so obviously I was trying to bum a ride, and there was a girl there. She felt sorry for me. So, because it was hot out, it's in the summer, right?
Yeah.
And she said, "Would you like to go for a ride on the track?" And I said, "Sir." So she gave me a whole bunch of rides on that track.
That's great.
And
well,
then
it's set up to run both directions.
Yeah, well, that's the interesting thing. So now this is way out in the middle of nowhere. Well, I shouldn't say. It's just outside of Tulsa. Probably what, 25 miles, 30 miles?
35 miles.
Okay, right.
on 4-lane highway all the way.
Yeah. It's just a straight shot. It's beautiful. And so what year did you build this thing?
76.
What was the motivation for it?
We just needed a racetrack. There were tracks around, but they were sort of going away. I mean, we had 2 wonderful ones at Ponca City through the park, about 1.33 miles. And then there was Lake Afton, which is around a great big park. And, I mean, they're utterly gorgeous tracks. And but people were starting to get agitated about using them, and safety and this and that and the other. And so I thought, why not build a racetrack? I listened to the Holy Spirit, I hope. And I went out, like I said, looked at land and settled on this. And technically, I still have, even though I haven't owned it for about 25 years, I still have 50% of the mineral rights under it. But, somebody, if they dig and find oil or gas, that would be nice.
Oh, okay. So, well, that we could get into the pumps here in a little bit too. But so the racetrack. What kind of a process do you have to go through to get a track sanctioned? Like for SCCA or IMSA? Tell us about that.
Just build a track.
Just build a track.
Yeah, and it was really fun. I have friends in California, and they said, "What about all the permits?" I said, "Permits? In Oklahoma." They said, "What are you going to do with the land? Build a racetrack on it?" Oh, okay.
Was it pretty much that simple?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I bought the land and contracted, got really shafted. The pavers didn't care to make 2 miles worth of mix. It was supposed to be hard, and you're supposed to be able to actually squeal your tires on it in the wet, like the Bartlesville Phillips Airport is called open course friction grade asphalt. They paved it. You could go out in your tennis shoe half an hour before the race and dig your heel of your tennis shoe into it. So they repaved it. I had to pay for the repaving, of course. It was no better. When they repaved it, another $180,000 back in '76. The contractor was so embarrassed, he gave me the labor free. And so we put that down and then limed the daylights out of it to make it stick and be, stick together and be slippery. And that finally held. But boy, oh boy, was that ever disgusting.
So how did
it was like ordering a pound cake and getting a brownie.
Okay. So when you're sitting there on your bulldozer just before you fired that big diesel up, and you decided to carve out part of the hill there.
No, I laid it out with a Trans Am Super Duty.
Oh, you laid it out with a Trans Am Super Duty. What year?
Yeah.
What year?
74.
Oh, 74.
HO.
Okay.
Yeah. Tore a couple front spoilers off, but.
Okay. Well. So you just decided to let me just try this out here, and that's what you did. So you basically then when you were sitting on your bulldozer, you were following your tire tracks. Whatever you carved out in your tire tracks, that says that looks good. We hung a left here, hung a right here. Is it well, it's 11 turns. So it's very technical. And you've mentioned that you can go both directions. Most tracks just go one way. Mm-hmm. What was the idea behind making it so that you could go both ways? Is it just for driver experience?
Two race tracks in one. And back before Skip Barber came and ran a few schools at it early on. And I've never been more flattered. He said, you go to Elkhart Lake for a school, you learn how to take 90-degree turns. He said, this track, if you can drive well at Hallett, you can drive well anywhere in the world. And I thought, maybe he says that to all the track owners, but I was sure flattered.
Interesting. Now, what other sanctioned races? Was there ever a GT race, IMSA race, or anything like that there?
Oh yeah, we had an IMSA race. We had a Camel Series race. In fact, we had the zoo call up. They wanted to sponsor it. They thought we were actually racing camels. And it turned out it was cigarettes. And no. Yeah, we had an IMSA. A Trans Am and an IMSA race, and then after that, just the usual SCCA races.
Okay. So, which reminds me, you were inducted to the SCCA Hall of Fame, last year or something like that?
Yeah, I'm very flattered and honored, no joke.
So how did that come? Tell us about that little experience. And what when they give you a presentation, what are some of the things they talk about?
They did this, now the SCCA has gotten full woke. And since everybody can't afford to go to a convention, we're only going to have conventions online from now on. It's just ridiculous.
No way.
So that's it. For several years, it started with COVID, and then, let's not. And the lady sitting down was talking about it, mentioned the concept. Well, not everybody can afford to go. Well, not everybody could afford to go way back when. And if SCCA would, make racing a little bit cheaper, which is possible to do, don't get me off into that. I'll go on for hours.
Okay.
But anyway, the old deal that, I'm just tongue-tied at the annoyance not being able to go to a national convention and see all my old friends that I see once a year from all the other parts of the country.
Speaking of old friends, tell us about some of the guys that you used to race with. Because, like you said, you started in the late 50s. I believe you told me that your first car happened to be a Porsche Carrera Speedster?
Uh-huh.
So It was a Porsche Carrera Speedster, but it was also a GS. So what's the difference between a regular Carrera and a GS? Is a GS a lightweight car?
No, the GT was the fast one. It had about 10 or 15 more horsepower.
Okay.
The GS, I'd love to know what the real difference was. And I always used to think it was kind of weird that Grand Touring cars were faster than Grand Sport cars, because you think the sports car would be the fast one.
Yeah.
And there were a couple other manufacturers at the time had the same letter, whatever.
Okay.
But I took the regular exhaust off and put a sport exhaust on it, and it was just wonderful.
How long did you race that car?
I sold it with a slightly rattly crank in 1962. I sponsored a race through the Oklahoma City Fairgrounds called the Petit Prix. It had been run 2 or 3 times before. And a friend of mine came back with a trailer. He was a Porsche guy from Chapel Hill, Tennessee, Jim Watson. The only thing my mother ever did bad, he said, I'll give you $1,100 for it. It's going to take a lot of work on that engine. I said, I love the car. I mean, I can actually drive around the rattle of the crank, and I'll eventually have it overhauled. And my mother's saying, you've got your 2-liter Alpha, sell him the car. And so I sold him the car. Only thing Mom ever did wrong.
Okay, so what kind of Alpha did you have? A little Spider? A little Veloce?
And I had a 2000, the iron block touring body, wonderful car. Just, not a Veloce, not a Giulietta, but the 2000.
Oh, the little 2-door sport coupe sedan looking thing, right?
No, it's a convertible.
Oh, was that
called the iron? A lot of times they refer to as the Iron Block 2000.
Okay, that's the 4-headlight car, wasn't it? Something like that.
No, 2 headlights.
Well, didn't it have 2 headlights, but didn't it have 2 fog lights that were integrated into the grill?
Yeah, right.
Okay,
right, exactly.
All right, so they sometimes call that a 4-headlight for our Alpha or whatever. Okay, yeah, it's a very classy looking car, almost like Ferrari-ish a little bit. It wasn't like the small Spiders, the 1300s and the 1600s.
Right. It was a perfect size.
Yeah.
It wasn't real big and it wasn't little. It had little enough horsepower that whenever you drove it, you just floored it, and then shifted at 3,000 RPM or something like that.
Did you race that car, or that was just?
Oh yeah, it was an absolute slug, but it was a great place to watch the race from, because in those days, entry fees were like $17.50 or maybe $25.
Uh-huh.
And they would also, at the end of the race, they'd say, "Bring your tow car, your race car by, and fill up with gas, because our sponsor is Texaco here, and they've got this tanker still a third full of gas. So come on by and fill up free."
Oh well, heck yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so where were some of the racetracks? Give us the names of some of the notable racetracks that you did sports car racing in the United States before we get to Targa Florio, of course.
Okay. Well, I ran so many airport courses: Stuttgart, Arkansas, and Lake Afton, and Ponca City in Oklahoma, real road courses, and mostly it's going to be airport courses. Victoria, Texas, the big closed airport between even Carter Field between Dallas and Fort Worth, and Cortland, Alabama Air Base, and just as I said, I can sit here. It's funny because I made a list up once. They're like, I don't know, 27 or 37. And they're so long ago, and they're all airport races that it was rare that there was actually a race track.
Wow. Okay. So let me ask you this, Tully. So back in the day.
Oh, of course, Oklahoma City, the race I sponsored, which was again on real roads. In fact, I lost the brakes on the Porsche and went down the escape road. And somebody had said, you go down the escape road, 120 yards, you're in traffic. I didn't realize what they meant. I crossed a 4-lane street.
Huh.
So anyway, but that was,
So back in the day, because you're naming off these tracks that are like in Oklahoma, Arkansas, let's call that kind of I guess you would say that. Is that Midwest? Is that considered Midwest?
Yeah.
Okay. So was there a lot of racing? Because when you think of racing, you always think of the East Coast, New England, you think of California. Everybody forgets that in the Midwest, they were equally as enthusiastic about racing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we had 8 race seasons, so to speak. If you want to go out of division, you go to Continental Divide. That was a real road course, and Richards Gebauer Airport up by Kansas City, and then Garnett, of course, which also was a real road course. First one, I ran the first official lap at both Garnett and Stuttgart in 59 and 60. I was out there at 7 o'clock in the morning at pit exit, my helmet on, sweaty palms, ready to go.
So was Denise McCluggage out there racing with you?
She raced at Sebring one time, and then she was on the staff with Art Peck, whatever, of competition press, and also doing announcing and stuff like that. I'm trying to think when I actually met Denise. It was way back. It wasn't quite that far back, but it was pretty far back, probably the mid-'60s.
Who are some of the notable drivers that you like the Rinchy Ginthers of the world, the Dan Gurneys? Were they all like your contemporaries back then?
Yeah, like I say, I beat Dan Gurney at Sebring sedan race in '64 because a wheel came off his Cortina, and I was racing my 50,000-mile 62 Studebaker GT Hawk, and so I could keep going. And it was a neat car. Like I said, 50,000 miles. We didn't take the mufflers off, took the air conditioner out, and copsoloid the brakes. That wonderful stuff. It really works. And drove it down. Had to replace the U-joints in Nashville at 50,000 miles. Interestingly enough, they had gone at 25,000 miles. So obviously the Studebaker U-joints were good for 25. I put new high hysteresis tires, if you remember that deal, where real gummy rubber. You drop them and they just go bloink instead of bouncing. And a new set of Avons on, and went out and put my number on myself. Number 2, we were gridded by engine size, not by qualifying time. And I just had just wonderful driving around. Augie Paps lapped me in one of the Cortinas drinking a Coke. And he and Dan Gurney were responsible for changing the rules. If you're familiar with the way the real Sebring was, it's not Sebring anymore. It's a racetrack at Sebring. And you had practically 1 mile straightaways with a 90-degree corner that was still 120 feet wide. Well, what the Cortinas would do is they would actually leave the track to the left, approaching this right-hand turn, and make this humongous sweeping turn where they wouldn't have to let up at all, and then rejoin the track. So they were actually passing the apex of the turn, maybe 80 to 100 feet away from the track. And after that, they changed the rules saying you have to stay on the track.
Which turn is this? It's not where the hairpin was it?
No. This is the other, just as a turn going on from the semi-backstretch to the backstretch.
You talking about the carousel, turn 17?
I don't know. Now, Sebring ain't nothing anymore. It's some weird mess of stuff. I'm talking about when you used to have 2 4,000-foot straights finishing up. You went down one straight, made a right turn, went down the back straight, made the U-turn onto the front straight.
Yes.
I'm talking about that turn.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Wow. Okay. And for our listeners, and you can concur with this, that part of the track, the carousel, is like it's almost like it's so chopped up, it's different elevations. Your car just bounces all over the place. It's even hard to hold a line on that turn. And that's basically, when you're coming around the carousel and you're heading back down. You're talking about when you're heading back down Pit Road, right?
Behind Pit Road.
Yeah.
The track going the other way. Yeah, that long straightaway. That and the straight before it had the 90-degree turn.
Oh, yeah, that's the one. Yeah, yes, exactly. Back where the hangars used to be.
Yeah, so yeah.
Okay. Yeah, old Sebring. Well, actually, when I used to go there in the 70s, it was still pretty much the old Sebring. It had been changed a couple times since you raced there. So, all right, so you're out there with Richie Ginther and Augie Paps. By the way, Augie Paps had a 63 Corvette that he raced. It was an absolute cheater car. Did you ever race on the track against that car?
No, I always raced little bitty cars, or 2.5 liter stuff like that. I never ran the big stuff except a couple of times with a 396 Vet, tanker Vet, with all the full competition options, just for the fun of it.
When was that? Where was that at?
Cortland, Alabama. It was geared for like 165. It would do over 60 in first gear, and they had me run. I was running Pirelli Cinerados, and they had me running against 427 Cobras. And 2 of the Cobras broke, so I got second in class, and 6 points was enough to get me invited to the runoffs at Riverside, but I didn't go because Don Yanko, like I said, this is a stock car. Put the fire extinguisher in the glove compartment, hooked the seat belts up to the factory seat belt mountings, and that was it. Didn't have to have a harness back then. And Yanko came over and said, "You running those stock knockoffs?" GM says those cute little veins that it has, for like metal spokes, they'll start cracking, and all of a sudden you'll lose a wheel and not even know it. Until it happens. I said, "Oh, thank you, Don."
So did you ever race at Riverside?
Yeah, in the Lancia Stratus and in the Morgan, in the runoffs back in 68, I think.
Okay. How about, was Torrey Pines around when you were racing Southern California?
No, that wasn't around. Nope. I had my Appia Zagato about 20 years ago in a Concours there, and they had a hill climb. There was just this straight up some street they blocked off and put a chicane in for people who wanted to do that. That was kind of fun.
Interesting.
But the most beautiful poster of any Concours I've ever been to. That's a part of my deal. I don't know whether to keep that or let it go with my $25,000 charity thing that I mentioned to you before.
Oh yeah, with all
it is big. It's bigger than you think of a biggish poster like 2.5 by 3.5, something like it. This is bigger than that.
Oh wow, that's interesting. How about Laguna Seca? Did you race out at Laguna Seca?
And I raced the first 5 vintage races there and missed the 6th, and then made the next 8 or 9, and then missed a couple and whatever back. But I raced it when it was, without the Andretti hairpin. When turn 1 and 2 were that flat out puckered deal. The SCCA would not allow them to have driver's school at Laguna Seca.
No kidding. I did not know that.
I think the first motorcycle race they ever had, a guy was killed on the first lap.
Oh.
Which was kind of like the Geisberg Hill Climb where we ran in the 66 Corvette. They ran motorcycles and cars together, and and it was raining partway up, and the first competitor was on a motorcycle, and he was killed.
Oh.
So that slowed things down for about an hour.
Oh wow! How about Sears Point? Did you race up there?
I'm trying to think why I've driven around Sears Point, and I can't tell you. I never raced there. No. Oh, it was at Auto Week or something about 2011. They had some sort of a deal, or Motor Trend, where like one of those tour deals with rallies and getting to drive new cars while the manufacturer's rep says slow down, one of those deals.
How about, let's jump over to Europe real quick. Let's go to south of the Boot in Sicily there on the northern. Let's talk about Targa Florio.
Most wonderful race in the world.
Is it really?
Oh yeah. First time, they only have like 2 hours of practice. In the meantime, everybody goes out, and the people that live there know not to go out on the road. Generally, occasionally you'll find somebody that doesn't, and there might be somebody with a donkey pulling a cart around a blind corner, But for the practice, we drove around at gentle speeds. But the first time it's just incredible. You can leave in 30-second intervals, and they drop the flag, and you're off. And about 5 miles from the start, you make a right-hand bend and come over a hump. And all of a sudden, you're driving down the main street of a town with people standing on the sidewalks and waving and jumping up and down. And you think, and they're all waving, the cops are waving you to go faster. And you're thinking, but I'm driving through a freaking town. It's just wonderful. Finally, just plant your foot in it and go.
What were you driving?
A Lancia Flaminia Zagato.
Oh, okay.
Then eventually, we so to speak won our classes. The dumbness. But we didn't finish enough laps. We had a CFAC Ferrari hot rod, a lightweight short wheelbase Berlinetta that was not built in the racing shop, and it's called the CFAC hot rod. You can still see it racing vintage today with number 74, which is our Targa Florio. At the end of the first, my co-driver forgot the key at the hotel, had to hot wire it. It had a blown head gasket. He left the car at a garage up the course. We couldn't go get it. I get a ride with a carabinieri to go up and bring the car down quick because there were like 15 minutes to start, and he goes back. So now I'm let out of the garage. Now I have to walk back a mile during the race, trying to stay off the track in my driver's suit, carrying my helmet, with people saying, "What happened to you? Where's your car?" And then, anyway. So everybody else in our class crashed or blew up on lap one. But when I shut the car off to top up with water because it had a blown head gasket, it had a weird backfire, and I thought something broke. I should have just kept driving because we could have finished enough laps. That was the first year you had to finish enough laps to be qualified. Back in those races, like at Sebring in the early 60s, Roger Rogers blew up something on his Jag, and they drove, 100 miles, brought parts back, fixed it. And so out of the 12-hour race, he won the over 3-liter GT class, having raced maybe 45 minutes.
Wow.
But he was the first guy to finish, right? So he won.
He won, yeah. Totally.
Yeah, so they eventually started putting, minimum distances.
Totally. We are up against the clock, and I know how you've got some great stories, and I know how you love to talk. Would you be willing to come back next week and we can do part 2? We can chat some more?
Sure. Happy to do it.
Okay, real quick. I just got a text because I have listeners and they text me every once in a while. Somebody mentioned, and like I said, we only have a few seconds left. Somebody mentioned that at one point you raced a red Miura.
Oh, yeah. I had my street Miura. Yeah, I raced it in 2 or 3 races.
Really?
Second lap of Montgomery, Alabama. I hit the brakes and the pedal went right to the floor. The brakes on that car were good for 2 laps, maybe.
All right. Tully, I want to thank you very much for hanging out with us. Next week, we'll talk about your books. We'll talk more about cars. We'll even talk about the red Miura, and because that was a cool car. But I want to thank you very much for hanging out with us here at Nostalgic Radio and Cars, and telling us some great stories because you've got some amazing stuff. And then, like I said, look forward to having you back next week for part 2.
Oh, I can't wait. By the way, I consider myself Sam Posey light, but that's another. I'll get into that next week.
Okay. He's been on my show. All right. Tully, you take care. Thank you very much for hanging out with us. And I want to thank all my listeners for tuning into Nostalgic Radio and Cars. And don't forget to check us out here every Tuesday between 7 and 8 p.m. on the Tan Talk Radio Network. And like I said, I started to say something about my friends down there at Forte's Automotive. Definitely go check them out if you have your old classic car that needs to be fixed. And let's see what we got going on. Oh, yeah, Palm Beach Concours this weekend. Christmas is coming up. Be sure and spend a lot of time with your family. If you do have some time off, this gives you a perfect opportunity to work on your car and get it going because beginning of next week or next month, we got a lot of car shows coming up, and I will share all that stuff with you as well. So in the meantime, everybody, follow us on social media. Stay safe, drive carefully, and love your family.
Bring on you to the other side.